Welcome to my channel. My name is Sunny and it's nice to meet you if you're new to our channel. All of my regular subscribers, hi! It's good to see you again. I missed you. I was having some real issues with my knees, my legs, the bones hurting really badly because of the osteoporosis, my arthritis being severe. Yeah, and my hip. My left hip is so painful that even though I had tried to keep my use of ibuprofen down to just 200 milligrams, so that would be 400 milligrams, which is a relatively low dosage for people with chronic pain. Once a day, I've been taking that like every 4 hours this last day. And I hate to do that because it puts your blood pressure up higher, and of course being bigger, I don't need that. It also can over time damage your liver. So I have no intention of this being a constant thing. And I even had to have my husband rub some cream that has some CBD oil in it. And that seems to help my hip a little bit between that and the ibuprofen. So anyhow, I'm able to sit up here and chat with you. So on with the video, as one of my good friends says. So yeah, as a kid, I was always just knowing stuff. It was kind of weird. It scared my mother to death. She always would tell me, don't tell other people. And I think back in those days, if you kind of just heard like a little voice in your head give you information that turned out to be true, they had a tendency to throw you in the psychiatric ward and lock you up and put you on major drugs. But at any rate, I always would spook her out. For example, I was an only child, and then I think it was about, was it 5th grade? Yeah, it had to have been 5th grade. When she came to pick me up from school, like she always did, and all of a sudden I looked at her and my eyes got so big and I go, oh, you're going to have a baby. You're pregnant. And she looked at me and she said, how did you know that? And she said, I just found that out myself today. So, come to find out, she hadn't even thought she was expecting. And she had gone in for her annual lady check, and they thought something looked different colors than what it normally would, and so they tested her, and voila, my sister was on her way. So anyhow, yeah, that was the start of my mom kind of having to believe that I heard information, but she still was very skeptical. And she still told me to just be quiet about it. And I think it really kind of scared her. But at any rate, then my grandpa, which was on my dad's side, and I loved him, but we weren't very close. We didn't visit with him an awful lot. And so I was coming home from school. This was about a year and a half later, and at that time I had a special permission to go home for school lunch, for home lunch, and I'd ride my bike, and I rode my bike, and my mom was gardening with her back to me, and as I jumped off my bike in the driveway, all of a sudden I heard my voice blurting out, oh no, Grandpa just died, didn't he? And she spun around, and she had been crying, and I didn't know that prior. And she said, Why did you say that? What makes you say that? And I said, I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know. It just popped into my head. I just knew it. And I said, is Grandpa okay? And she goes, no, he just died. And she said, they called 10 minutes ago. He was at work and he was just having his lunch and had a sudden heart attack and had died. So after that, it was a constant thing about me knowing stuff. And it was about a year after Grandpa had died when his mom, who by rights, she had been in a nursing home for quite a while, and she was a feisty lady, and my husband thinks that I'm exactly like her. And by those days' standards, she was very, very old, in her 80s, I believe, and back in those days, the life expectancy was much lower, and the doctors had said that a lot of her systems weren't working all that well for the longest time, and they couldn't figure out, other than just being so stubborn, what was keeping her alive. Anyhow, fast forward about a year after Grandpa died, and we were sitting out in the tent. We had a screened-in tent, which my mom called the blue room because it was blue on top. And it was on our concrete patio in the backyard. And of course, during those days, my mom and dad smoked. So it was after dinner, and we were sitting in the screened-in patio room, and the phone rang. My mom ran in and to the house to answer the phone. No cell phones back in those days. And out of a clear blue sky, I looked at Dad and I said, I'm so sorry, but Great-Grandma Ami just died. And my mom came out and she said to Dad, she said, oh, Great-Grandma Ami just died. And he said, I know, she just told me. And so I've kind of been like this all the time. And the funniest recent, well, not most recent story, but one of my favorite stories from 20 years ago was my granddaughter, Savannah. She was maybe 4 or 6 months old, something like that. And what are you doing? Excuse me. Pause. Sorry, I had a doggy issue with my puppy, Elle. Yeah, so anyhow, Savannah was a baby, and in our room, we had her little portable crib, and quite often we would watch her for my daughter. And so my daughter had just changed her diaper and had just walked out of the bedroom, and I heard just as clear as a bell, and it could have only been Savannah because she was the only one in the room that was wearing a diaper, and she said, diaper wet, wet, wet. And I could hear it. I know this sounds so weird, but I really could hear her thinking towards me. And I said, Rachel, come change her diaper. And she goes, Mom, didn't you see me? I just changed her. And I said, well, I'm sorry, but I feel like she just told me she's wet. She's wet, wet, wet. Come on. She's wet. She doesn't like it. So she peeked in there, and sure enough, she goes, oh my God, she is wet again already. And I just laughed because I was thinking, how is this small little girl already broadcasting to Grandma? But she was. And we've been like that ever since. We're like, in so many, many ways, we are so 2 peas in a pod and best buddies. She is my sunshine. Now, my other granddaughter is just as sweet and wonderful and smart, but she never hollered out at me from that young age. So I don't know. It's just that maybe she doesn't want to broadcast everything to everybody. I don't know. I don't think Savannah broadcasts to everybody, but she just wasn't having that diaper wet, and I was the only one she could holler at, I guess. So anyhow, I was wondering how many of you have had moments in your life where you got really, really clear things come to you that was little bits of information that turned out to be right on the money. It's a lot of fun to compare notes and see how things are kind of a universal experience, right? I think that everybody has a tendency to be able to pick up on stuff. It's just sometimes we aren't listening, or we don't believe what we're hearing. And I have had my fair share of that too. But at any rate, yeah, that's been an experience for me. And my favorite one I will save and turn into another story time, because it was kind of a long story, but it was a wonderful story, and I was glad to be a participant in that story. So at any rate, I wanted to keep this short and sweet, but that's our Monday talk story, real live story time from my life. And leave your comments down below and let's compare notes. Okay, I'm also going to be putting up a little update about the recipe contest, and I will upload that right after this. Okay? Love you. Aloha. Give a girl a thumbs up if you liked our chat today. Okay? Bye.